The security footage showed two women laughing like old friends as they tried on designer shoes at Bergdorf Goodman. One was my mother-in-law, Diane Harper, wearing her signature pearl necklace and a royal blue dress. The other was younger, prettier, wearing a red wrap dress that hugged her curves. I watched her lean into Diane conspiratorially as the sales associate brought out another pair of Louboutins. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m., yesterday afternoon. The transaction total at the bottom made my stomach drop. $8,456.73. Charged to the black card I had given Diane 2 years ago as a gesture of goodwill when Brandon and I got married. I knew that woman in the red dress. Her name was Rochelle, and she had been sleeping with my husband for the past 7 months. I sat in my corner office on the 42nd floor of the building that housed my tech company, DataCore Solutions, staring at the screen until the image burned into my mind. The IT security team had sent me the alert 30 minutes ago. Unusual spending pattern detected. Did I want to review the transactions? At first, I thought someone had stolen Diane's card. I pulled up the boutique security feed, something I could access because my company provided their cybersecurity systems. A perk of being one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the city. What I found was so much worse than theft. I had first seen Rochelle's face 3 months ago when I found Brandon's backup phone in his gym bag. He thought he was being careful, but he had forgotten it that morning when I asked him to grab my yoga mat from the same bag. The phone had been tucked in the side pocket and it fell out when I unzipped it. Curiosity made me turn it on. No password. Just message after message from a contact saved as RG Properties. The messages were explicit. The photos were worse. But what struck me most was the ease in their conversations, the inside jokes, the casual way he told her he loved her. Not the distracted, obligatory, love you too, he gave me before bed each night. Real affection. I had taken photos of everything with my own phone, then carefully placed his backup phone exactly where I found it. I did not confront him. I did not cry. I started planning. Now, watching Diane and Rochelle giggle over $1,000 shoes, I understood the depth of the betrayal. This was not just an affair. This was a circle of lies that included my own family, or the family I thought I had. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon, late meeting tonight. Don't wait up. I typed back, no problem. Love you. The lie tasted like metal in my mouth, but I sent it anyway. I pulled up my banking app and navigated to the authorized users section. Diane's black card appeared first. I had added her with a $50,000 monthly limit, thinking she would use it for groceries, maybe the occasional lunch with her book club. Instead, she had been averaging $30,000 a month for the past year. I scrolled through the transactions. Bergdorf Goodman multiple times. Saks Fifth Avenue. The Russian tea room. Always for 2 people. Always during business hours when Brandon would be at work and I would be at mine. How long had they known each other? How long had Diane been playing fairy godmother to my husband's mistress? I clicked the button to deactivate the card. A pop-up appeared asking me to confirm. I confirmed. The card status changed to inactive immediately. Done. Next, I opened my contact list and scrolled to Jerome Patterson, the attorney who had handled my company's incorporation and several contract negotiations. I had met him at a tech conference 5 years ago before Brandon, before marriage, when I was just building my empire. Jerome was sharp, ruthless when needed, and discreet. Jerome Patterson's office. His assistant answered on the second ring. This is Simone Harper. I need to speak with Jerome immediately. It's urgent. One moment, Mrs. Harper. The hold music was Vivaldi. I listened to it while I pulled up another window on my computer and began documenting everything. Screenshots of the security footage. Screenshots of the credit card transactions. Screenshots of every message and photo from Brandon's backup phone that I had stored in an encrypted file on my personal cloud. Simone. Jerome's deep voice came through the line. What can I do for you? I need a divorce attorney. The best you know. I need to file papers immediately and I need to protect my assets. There was a brief pause. Jerome had been at my wedding. He had given a toast about how Brandon was lucky to have found such an accomplished woman. I handle divorce cases myself. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? 8 a.m.? I'll be there. Simone, are you safe? Do you need immediate protection? I'm safe. This isn't about violence. This is about theft and betrayal. Bring every document you have. Bank statements, property deeds, prenuptial agreement, everything. I will. After I hung up, I sat back in my chair and looked out at the Manhattan skyline. The late afternoon sun made the buildings glow gold and orange. From up here, the city looked beautiful, orderly, like everything made sense. Down there, my life was falling apart. Or maybe it had been falling apart for months and I was just now seeing it clearly. I had built Datacore from nothing. I started coding in college, built my first algorithm in a dorm room, and sold it for enough money to fund my first real venture. By the time I was 30, I had 3 patents and a company worth $40 million. By the time I met Brandon at a charity gala 3 years ago, I was worth considerably more. He was handsome, charming, successful in his own right as an investment banker at Sterling and Cross. We dated for a year. He proposed at the same restaurant where we had our first date. His mother cried happy tears and welcomed me into the family with open arms. Or so I thought. The prenuptial agreement had been Jerome's idea. Brandon had not liked it, but he signed it. The company was mine, created before the marriage. Any assets I brought into the marriage stayed mine. Anything we acquired together would be split 50-50. It seemed fair at the time. Now it seemed like the smartest decision I had ever made. My phone rang. Diane. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. I declined it. A text came through. Simone, my card isn't working. There must be some mistake. Can you call the bank? I typed back. The card has been canceled. No mistake. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, what are you talking about? Why would you cancel it? We can discuss it later. I'm busy with work. I turned my phone face down on my desk and pulled up a spreadsheet. Everything Brandon and I owned together. The penthouse in Tribeca that we bought 2 years ago for $4.2 million. The vacation home in the Hamptons. His Mercedes, my Range Rover. Joint checking account with about $70,000. Joint savings with $200,000. Then I pulled up my separate accounts. The ones that held my business earnings, my inheritance from my grandmother, my investments. All in my name only. Untouchable. I called my bank and spoke to my private banker, a woman named Susan Chin who had handled my accounts for 8 years. Susan, I need to move some funds. I want to transfer all my personal money out of any joint accounts and into my individual account. Today. Of course, Ms. Harper. May I ask if everything is all right? I'm getting a divorce. I need to protect my assets. I understand. Give me 1 hour and I'll have everything transferred and send you a confirmation email. Thank you. I had one more call to make. I scrolled through my contacts and found Natasha Green, my best friend since business school and now my chief operating officer at Datacore. Simone. Natasha picked up immediately. What's wrong? You never call during the day. Can you come to my office? I need to tell you something. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Natasha's office was 3 floors down. She arrived in 3 minutes, slightly out of breath, her green blazer perfectly pressed, her natural hair pulled back in a sleek bun. She took one look at my face and closed the door behind her. What happened? I turned my computer screen toward her and played the security footage. She watched in silence, her expression shifting from confusion to understanding to rage. That's Brandon's mother. Yes. And that's the girl from the photos you showed me. Yes. Natasha sat down heavily in the chair across from my desk. She's been helping him cheat on you. His own mother. For at least a year, based on the credit card statements. Simone, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be ready to help me burn their lives to the ground. Natasha leaned forward, her eyes sharp. What do you need? I need you to help me protect the company. I need you to be my witness if anything goes sideways. And I need you to remind me that I'm strong enough to do this. You're the strongest person I know. Natasha reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. And they have no idea what's coming for them. That night, I went home to the penthouse. Brandon was not there yet, still at his late meeting. I walked through the rooms we had decorated together, looking at everything with new eyes. The modern furniture he insisted on. The abstract art his mother helped us choose. The white and gray color scheme that felt cold even in summer. None of this felt like home anymore. It felt like a museum of a life I thought I had. I went to the bedroom and pulled out a suitcase. I packed clothes, toiletries, my laptop, important documents. I was not leaving tonight, but I wanted to be ready. I wanted to be able to walk out the door at any moment. My phone buzzed. Brandon, on my way home. 20 minutes. I put the suitcase in the guest room closet and went to the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of wine and stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. When Brandon came home, he found me there, calm and composed in a blue silk blouse and black slacks. Hey babe. He kissed my cheek. He smelled like expensive cologne and something else. For her perfume. How was your day? Productive. Yours? Exhausting. These merger talks are taking forever. He loosened his tie and went to the bar to pour himself scotch. What's for dinner? I ordered Thai food. It should be here soon. We ate in near silence, making small talk about work, about nothing. He did not notice anything different. He did not notice that I barely touched my food. He did not notice that I was looking at him like I had never seen him before. After dinner, I told him I had a headache and went to the guest room. He did not question it. He probably called Rochelle the moment I closed the door. I lay in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling, and felt nothing. No tears. No anger. Just a cold, clear certainty. Tomorrow I would start taking apart the life they thought they had built behind my back. And they would never see me coming. I woke up at 5 a.m. in the guest room, my mind already racing through everything I needed to do. Brandon was still asleep in the master bedroom. I could hear his soft snoring through the walls. I showered quickly, dressed in a red power suit that made me feel like armor, and left the penthouse before he woke up. Jerome Patterson's office was in Midtown, a sleek building with marble floors and Art Deco fixtures. I arrived at 7:45, carrying a leather portfolio stuffed with documents. The receptionist recognized me immediately and escorted me to Jerome's corner office. Jerome stood when I entered. He was in his mid-50s, impeccably dressed in a gray suit, his silver hair cut close. Simone. Coffee? Please. He poured 2 cups from a French press on the credenza and handed me one. We sat across from each other at his desk and I opened my portfolio. I need to show you something. I walked him through everything. The security footage of Diane and Rochelle. The credit card statements. The messages and photos from Brandon's backup phone. The timeline of the affair as I had pieced it together. Jerome watched the footage twice, his expression neutral but his jaw tight. When I finished, he sat back in his chair and steepled his fingers. This is extensive documentation. You've been very thorough. I learned from the best. You taught me to always have evidence before making a move. So I did. He picked up a legal pad and began making notes. Let's talk about assets. You have a prenuptial agreement, correct? Yes. The company is entirely mine, created before marriage. Any inheritance or premarital assets stay separate. Anything acquired during marriage is split 50-50. Good. That protects your primary asset. What did you acquire together? The Tribeca penthouse. The Hampton house. 2 cars. Joint bank accounts with about $270,000 total. And your separate assets? The company is worth approximately $90 million as of our last valuation. My personal investment portfolio is around $12 million. Inheritance from my grandmother is $5 million, held in a trust. Jerome wrote quickly. Brandon's assets? His salary is $300,000 a year. Bonuses vary, usually around $200,000. He has a 401k worth maybe $500,000. Some stock options. So he makes good money but nothing close to what you have. Correct. Has he ever contributed to your company financially? Never. He has no ownership stake, no claim to any intellectual property. I built DataCore before I met him and he's never worked there or invested in it. Perfect. That makes this cleaner. Jerome leaned forward. Here's what we're going to do. First, I'm filing divorce papers today. We'll cite irreconcilable differences and provide evidence of adultery. In New York, adultery is grounds for divorce, and it can affect asset distribution if we prove he used marital funds to support the affair. He bought her a condo. I found the deed. It's in her name but he paid for it. $400,000 from our joint investment account. Jerome's eyebrows went up. Do you have documentation? I pulled out bank statements highlighting the withdrawal. Here. He told me it was for a business investment. I trusted him and didn't ask questions. This is fraud. He used marital assets to buy property for his mistress. Jerome made more notes. We can recover that. We'll force the sale of the condo and recoup the funds. Good. Second, I'm recommending we hire a forensic accountant. If Brandon was brazen enough to buy her a condo, he might have moved other assets we don't know about. I want a complete financial picture before we negotiate settlement. Do it. Third, you need to protect yourself immediately. Do you have somewhere safe to stay? I'm still in the penthouse. But I can move to a hotel if needed. I'd recommend it. Once he's served papers, things could get volatile. Not physically but emotionally messy. I'll move out today. Jerome stood and extended his hand. I'll have papers drawn up by this afternoon. We'll serve him at his office tomorrow morning. I shook his hand. Make it public. I want his colleagues to see. Jerome smiled slightly. Understood. I left Jerome's office feeling lighter than I had in months. The plan was in motion. No more waiting, no more pretending. My next stop was Datacore. Natasha was already in her office when I arrived, a green smoothie on her desk and her computer screen filled with spreadsheets. "How did it go?" she asked as soon as I walked in. "Jerome's filing papers today. I'm hiring a forensic accountant. And I'm moving out of the penthouse." Natasha nodded. "You can stay with me if you want. I have the spare room." "Thank you, but I'm going to get a hotel suite. Somewhere with good security. I don't want Brandon showing up wherever I am." "Smart." Natasha pulled up a document on her screen. "I've been working on something. We need to make sure the company is bulletproof. I reviewed all our corporate documents and everything is solid. Brandon has zero claim. But I also think we should issue a statement to the board and investors, just to reassure them that your personal situation won't affect business operations." "Good idea. Draft something and send it to me for approval." "Already done." She turned her screen so I could see. The statement was perfect. Professional, brief, confident. "Send it out today." I spent the rest of the morning in meetings, focusing on work, letting the familiar rhythm of strategy sessions and product reviews ground me. At lunch, I called my bank again. "Susan, I need to close the joint checking and savings accounts. Transfer my half to my personal account and cut a cashier's check for Brandon's half." "Done." "Anything else?" "Yes. I need a full accounting of every transaction on those joint accounts for the past 2 years. Every deposit, every withdrawal, everything. I'll have it ready by tomorrow." "Thank you." At 2 p.m. my phone rang. "Diane." I answered this time. "Simone." Her voice was sharp, angry. "What is going on?" "My card was declined at lunch. I had to ask Patricia to pay and it was humiliating." "I told you yesterday. The card is canceled." "You cannot just cancel it without talking to me first. I've had that card for 2 years. It's my card, Diane. I can cancel it whenever I want." "This is absurd." "Put Brandon on the phone." "Brandon doesn't control my credit cards." "I do. I'm calling him right now." "This is ridiculous." She hung up. I smiled. Let her call him. Let them both panic. 10 minutes later, Brandon called. "Simone, what's this about my mother's credit card?" "I canceled it." "Why would you do that?" "Because I felt like it." "That's not a reason. She's been using that card for years. You embarrassed her in front of her friends. She'll survive." "What is wrong with you today? You're acting strange." "Am I?" I kept my voice light, pleasant. "Sorry, I've been distracted with work. Big product launch coming up." "Well, can you uncancel the card? Or give her a new one?" "No." "Simone." "Brandon, I have to go. I'm in a meeting." I hung up before he could respond. That evening, I packed the rest of my things while Brandon was still at work. I called the Four Seasons and booked a suite for a month. Then I called a moving company and had them come pack up my personal belongings. Clothes, books, my grandmother's jewelry, photos of my family. Anything that was mine alone. By the time Brandon came home at 7, I was gone. I left a note on the kitchen counter, "Staying at a hotel for a few days. Need some space to think. We'll be in touch." I turned my phone off and checked into the hotel. The suite was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of Central Park. A king bed with crisp white linens. A living room with a blue velvet sofa. Everything was bright and clean and mine. I ordered room service. Steak medium rare. Roasted vegetables. A bottle of red wine. I ate slowly, savoring every bite, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow, Brandon would be served divorce papers. Tomorrow, the real war would begin. But tonight, for the first time in 7 months, I slept peacefully. Jerome called at 8 a.m. "Papers are ready. Process server will deliver them to Brandon's office at 10. Are you prepared for fallout?" "Completely." "Good." I've also contacted Harold Thompson, the best forensic accountant in the city. He can meet with us this afternoon. 2 p.m. at my office. I'll be there. I spent the morning at Datacore sitting in on a strategy meeting for our new cybersecurity software launch. Natasha kept glancing at me, checking if I was okay. I nodded at her. I was more than okay. I was focused. At 9:55, I excused myself and went to my office. I wanted to be alone when it happened. At 10:03, my phone rang. "Brandon." I did not answer. He called again. Again. Then text messages started flooding in. "What the hell is this? You filed for divorce? At my office? Are you insane? Call me right now." "Simone, this is not funny." I read each message calmly, then put my phone on silent. Natasha knocked on my door. "You okay?" Perfect. It's done. She came in and closed the door. What do you need from me? Help me review all company finances. I want to make sure there's no way Brandon can claim any part of DataCore. Also, start documenting my work schedule for the past 3 years. Hours, contributions, innovations. Everything that proves this company is entirely my creation. On it. At 2 p.m. I met Jerome and Harold Thompson at Jerome's office. Harold was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a meticulous air about him. He carried a leather briefcase and a tablet. Mrs. Harper. He shook my hand firmly. Jerome has briefed me on your situation. I've already started preliminary analysis based on the documents you provided. What I've found so far is concerning. We sat down and Harold pulled up a presentation on his tablet. Over the past 2 years, there have been 17 significant withdrawals from your joint accounts, totaling approximately $1.2 million. The condo purchase was the largest single transaction, but there are others. A car lease in Rochelle's name. Monthly payments to what appears to be a shopping allowance. Jewelry purchases. Vacation expenses. I stared at the numbers. $1.2 million. Yes. All from joint accounts that you contributed to significantly more than your husband. Based on deposit patterns, you put in approximately 70% of the joint account funds. Brandon put in 30%. Yet he withdrew significantly more for personal use. Can we recover it? Some of it. The condo can be sold and those funds returned to you. The car can be repossessed and sold. The rest is gone, spent on experiences and items we can't reclaim. But we can use this in court to argue for unequal asset distribution in your favor. Jerome leaned forward. Harold, what about offshore accounts? Shell companies? Anything hidden? I'm still investigating, but I've found 2 suspicious transactions. Wire transfers to a Cayman Islands account. $500,000 total, sent over 6 months. I'm working on getting access to those records. My stomach tightened. He hid $500,000? Possibly. Or he invested it somewhere. Either way, if it's marital property, we can force him to disclose it and bring it back into the settlement pool. I took a deep breath. What do I need to do? Give me access to everything. All bank accounts, credit card statements, investment portfolios. I need to see the complete financial picture. And I need you to think about any major purchases or financial decisions Brandon made in the past 2 years. Anything unusual. I thought back. He said he was investing in a friend's startup. A tech company. He said he put in $100,000. I never saw any paperwork. Harold made a note. Company name? I don't remember. He mentioned it once, maybe a year ago. I'll find it. Harold closed his tablet. Give me 2 weeks. I'll have a complete forensic analysis ready for court. After Harold left, Jerome and I talked strategy. Brandon's attorney will push for reconciliation first. That's standard. He'll argue that the marriage can be saved, that you're acting rashly. Not happening. Good. We'll reject any reconciliation attempts immediately. Next, they'll try to claim you owe him spousal support since you out-earn him significantly. Absolutely not. We'll argue that the adultery and financial fraud negate any support claims. New York law allows judges to consider marital misconduct when determining support. We have evidence of both. What about Diane? Can we do anything about her involvement? Jerome considered. She's not party to your marriage, so we can't include her in the divorce. But if you want to pursue civil action for her role in facilitating the affair, that's possible. We could sue for emotional distress, fraud, interference with marital relations. Let's keep that option open. I left Jerome's office and went back to the hotel. The suite felt safe, separate from everything happening outside. I ordered dinner, took a long bath, and tried to relax. At 9 p.m. someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole. Brandon. I did not open it. Simone, I know you're in there. Open the door. I stayed silent. Please. We need to talk about this. You can't just end our marriage like this. I walked away from the door and turned on the television, drowning out his voice. He knocked for 10 more minutes, then left. The next morning, Natasha came to my hotel suite with coffee and bagels. You look better, she said, settling onto the blue sofa. I feel better. Clearer. Good. Because I have news. The board meeting is this afternoon, and several members want to discuss your divorce. They're worried about stability. Let them worry. We'll show them the numbers. DataCore is stronger than ever. My personal life doesn't affect our quarterly earnings. Natasha smiled. That's exactly what I told them. But it'll be good for you to say it yourself. At the board meeting, I stood at the head of the table in a maroon dress that screamed confidence. 12 board members looked back at me, their expressions ranging from concerned to curious. I know you've heard about my divorce filing. I want to address it directly. My marriage is ending, but DataCore is not. This company was built before my marriage, has thrived during my marriage, and will continue to grow after my marriage ends. My personal situation does not affect our operations, our product pipeline, or our financial stability. In fact, our Q3 earnings are up 23%, and we're on track for our most profitable year ever. I pulled up a presentation showing growth charts, product launches, new contracts. DataCore is my legacy. Nothing will interfere with that. Are there any questions? The board chair, an older woman named Patricia Okonkwo, nodded approvingly. Thank you for addressing this directly, Simone. We have complete confidence in your leadership. The others murmured agreement. After the meeting, Patricia pulled me aside. Between you and me, I've been divorced twice. Both times, my exes tried to claim they deserved part of my success. Don't let him take a penny. You built this alone. I don't intend to. That evening, Natasha and I had dinner at a quiet restaurant near the hotel. She ordered wine, I ordered sparkling water. I wanted to stay sharp, alert. Have you heard from Brandon today? She asked. 17 calls. 32 texts. I haven't responded to any of them. Good. Let him spiral. His attorney will contact Jerome soon. Then it gets official. Natasha raised her glass. To getting everything you deserve. And leaving him with nothing but regrets. I clinked my water glass against her wine. To new beginnings. 3 days after Brandon was served, Diane showed up at my office. My assistant buzzed me. Mrs. Harper, there's a Diane Harper here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. Send her in. I closed my laptop and stood as Diane swept into my office. She was wearing a blue designer suit that I had probably paid for, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. But her eyes were furious. Sit down, Diane. I'll stand. This won't take long. She crossed her arms. What you're doing to Brandon is cruel and unnecessary. He made a mistake. People make mistakes. You don't destroy a marriage over one mistake. One mistake. I kept my voice level. Interesting way to describe a 7-month affair. He's a man. Menstruate. It doesn't mean anything. It means everything. You're throwing away a good marriage because of your pride. I walked to my computer and pulled up the security footage I had saved. I turned the screen toward her. Watch this. She glanced at the screen, then away. I don't need to watch anything. Yes, you do. Watch it. I pressed play. The footage showed Diane and Rochelle at Bergdorf Goodman, laughing, trying on shoes, acting like best friends. Diane's face went pale. Where did you get this? I have access to security systems all over this city. One of the perks of my job. I paused the video on a frame that showed them both clearly. You've been shopping with my husband's mistress. On my credit card. For over a year. That's not what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you were helping your son cheat on me. It looks like you were playing dress up with the woman who was sleeping with my husband. Diane's composure cracked slightly. I was trying to protect him. Protect him from what? From me? I've been nothing but good to your son. I've supported his career, paid for half of everything, given you a credit card with no spending limit. And this is how you repay me. You don't understand. Brandon was unhappy. So instead of encouraging him to talk to me, you helped him lie to me? Rochelle is a nice girl. She comes from a good family. She understands Brandon in ways you never did. The words hit me like a slap, but I did not flinch. Get out of my office. Simone, listen to me. No. You listen to me. You are no longer welcome in my life. Don't call me. Don't come to my office. Don't contact me in any way. If you do, I'll file a restraining order. You can't do this. I'm Brandon's mother. And I'm his soon-to-be ex-wife. I have more legal standing than you do. Diane's eyes filled with tears. Real or fake, I could not tell. I thought you cared about this family. I did. Until I found out the family was a lie. I pressed the button on my desk phone. Security, please escort Mrs. Diane Harper out of the building. She's no longer authorized to be here. 2 security guards appeared within seconds. Diane looked between them and me, her face a mixture of shock and rage. You'll regret this, she said. No. I really won't. The guards escorted her out. I watched through my glass office walls as she walked past cubicles of employees who pretended not to stare. When she was gone, I sat down and let out a long breath. Natasha appeared in my doorway. I saw security take her out. You okay? Better than okay. I'm done pretending to be nice to people who don't deserve it. Good. Because Jerome called. Brandon wants to meet with you. Face to face. Absolutely not. That's what I told Jerome. But apparently Brandon is insisting. He wants to apologize, try to work things out. He had 7 months to apologize. Tell Jerome the answer is no. The next day, Brandon was served papers at his office again. This time it was a motion for temporary orders. I wanted the penthouse. I wanted the cars. I wanted access to all financial records. And I wanted a restraining order preventing him from contacting me directly. Jerome called me that afternoon. He's losing it. His attorney says he's been calling in sick to work, drinking heavily, making a scene. Not my problem. His attorney wants to negotiate. They're offering you the penthouse if you drop the adultery claims. No deal. I want the penthouse and the adultery stays on record. They're also asking for spousal support. $2,000 a month. I laughed. Actually laughed. He committed fraud, used marital assets to support his mistress, and now he wants me to pay him? Tell them to go to hell. Already did. But be prepared. They're going to fight dirty. So am I. That evening I was working in my hotel suite when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Simone. A woman's voice. Young, nervous. Rochelle. I hung up immediately. She called again. I blocked the number. Then she tried from a different number. Please just listen. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss. I didn't know he was married at first. By the time I found out, I was already in love with him. I don't care. Simone, please. He's falling apart. He needs help. Then help him yourself. You wanted him, you can have him. But he doesn't want me anymore. He wants you back. That's unfortunate for both of you. I hung up and blocked that number too. The next morning, Jerome called with news. Brandon's firm is launching an internal investigation. Apparently, someone sent them evidence of his financial misconduct. The offshore accounts, the questionable investments. They're looking into whether he violated company policy. Who sent them the evidence? I don't know. But it's working in our favor. If he loses his job, he has even less claim to spousal support. Good. At work, I threw myself into the product launch. DataCore's new cybersecurity software was revolutionary, using AI to predict and prevent breaches before they happened. We had contracts lined up with 3 Fortune 500 companies, and interest from a dozen more. Natasha and I worked late into the evenings perfecting presentations, reviewing code, strategizing marketing approaches. It felt good to focus on something I could control, something that was entirely mine. 1 week after Diane's visit to my office, I was featured in a Business Today article. Tech CEO Simone Harper on building an empire and overcoming personal adversity. The article was carefully worded, focusing on my professional accomplishments while briefly mentioning my ongoing divorce. The photo showed me in my office, wearing a green dress, looking confident and powerful. Brandon's mother posted on social media that same day. A long, rambling post about how family should stick together, how younger generations give up too easily, how marriage requires sacrifice. She did not mention me by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. The comments section filled up fast. Half the people agreed with her. Half called her out for being a hypocrite. I did not respond. I did not engage. I just kept working, kept planning, kept building my case. Jerome called me into his office 2 weeks after filing. We have a court date. Preliminary hearing is in 3 weeks. Judge Rita Okonkwo will be presiding. Do you know her? She's tough but fair. Doesn't tolerate nonsense. Perfect for our case. Good. Harold finished his forensic analysis. Brandon moved $2.3 million over the course of your marriage. The offshore accounts, the condo, the car, cash payments to Rochelle, even a secret investment portfolio we found. $2.3 million. The number made me dizzy. Can we get it back? Most of it. The investments can be liquidated. The condo will be sold. We can't get back what he spent on vacations and gifts, but we can use it to argue that he owes you significant compensation. Do it. I left Jerome's office feeling vindicated. Every lie, every betrayal, every stolen dollar was documented, proven, ready to be presented in court. Brandon's life was about to fall apart, and I was going to be there to watch it happen. The locks on the penthouse were changed on a Tuesday morning. I hired a locksmith, provided proof of ownership from our property records, and had every lock replaced while Brandon was at work. His keys would no longer work. I also hired movers to pack up his belongings. Everything that was clearly his went into boxes. His clothes, his shoes, his toiletries, his books, his electronics. I was careful not to touch anything that might be considered shared property. Those items stayed in place for now, subject to court division later. By 5 p.m., 27 boxes sat in the lobby of our building, clearly labeled with Brandon's name. The doorman had been instructed to inform him that his belongings were ready for pickup and that he was no longer a resident. Jerome had filed the motion for exclusive occupancy of the penthouse that morning. We argued that since I had contributed 70% of the down payment and made most of the mortgage payments, I should have primary rights to the residence during divorce proceedings. I was not at the penthouse when Brandon came home. I was at the Four Seasons, safe and separate, when my phone started ringing. Brandon. I did not answer. Text messages flooded in. You changed the locks? Are you serious? All my stuff is in the lobby like trash? This is my home too. You can't just kick me out. I forwarded all the messages to Jerome, then blocked Brandon's number. 20 minutes later, Jerome called. Brandon's attorney just contacted me. They're furious, threatening to file an emergency motion. Let them. We filed first. We have documentation showing my larger financial contribution to the property. I know. I'm not worried. I just wanted to give you a heads up that things are about to get nasty. They've been nasty. This is just making it official. The next morning, I went to the penthouse for the first time since moving out. It felt strange walking through rooms that used to feel like home. The movers had done a good job. Brandon's presence was completely erased. Only my things and our shared items remained. I walked to the master bedroom and opened the closet. My clothes hung neatly on one side. The other side was empty. I ran my hand along the empty rod, feeling nothing. My phone rang. Natasha. Turn on the news. Channel 7. I found the remote and turned on the television in the bedroom. A news anchor was talking about Sterling and Cross, Brandon's firm. Investment banker Brandon Harper has been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation into alleged financial misconduct. Sources say Harper may have been involved in unauthorized transactions and possible embezzlement of client funds. Sterling and Cross released a statement saying they take these allegations very seriously and are cooperating fully with investigators. The screen showed a photo of Brandon in his work clothes, looking professional and confident. That photo was probably taken 6 months ago, before everything fell apart. I called Natasha back. Did you see it? Everyone saw it. It's all over social media. His colleagues are posting about it. Some are defending him, but most are distancing themselves. Good. Simone, are you okay? I know this is a lot. I'm fine. Better than fine. He's finally facing consequences. After I hung up, I stood in the empty closet and allowed myself to feel it. Not satisfaction exactly. More like vindication. Justice. That afternoon, I received an email from an unknown address. The subject line read, "We need to talk." I opened it. It was from Rochelle. Simone, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know the truth. Brandon told me you two were separated. He said you were living apart, that the divorce was already in progress. He said you were seeing other people. I never would have gotten involved if I knew you were still together. When I found out the truth, I confronted him. He said he loved me, that he was going to leave you for me. I believed him. But now he's saying he wants to work things out with you. He's begging me to disappear, to pretend we never happened. I thought you should know what kind of man you're fighting for. I read the email 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Jerome with a note, more evidence of his lies. Jerome responded within minutes, perfect. This shows a pattern of deception. Can we use her as a witness? I typed back, I don't want anything to do with her. But if you can get her testimony without me having to see her, go ahead. Done. I deleted Rochelle's email and blocked her address. 2 days later, Brandon's attorney filed a motion for reconciliation counseling. They argued that our marriage could be saved with professional help, that we owed it to ourselves to try. Jerome filed an opposition brief the same day. We included evidence of the affair, the financial fraud, and excerpts from Rochelle's email showing Brandon's deception. The judge scheduled a hearing for the following week. In the meantime, Diane was spiraling on social media. She posted photos of Brandon as a child, with captions about how he was such a good boy, how he did not deserve this treatment. She posted inspirational quotes about forgiveness. She shared articles about the importance of family. Her friends were split. Some supported her. Others called her out for enabling her son's bad behavior. One comment in particular went viral. Your son cheated on his wife, stole money, and lied repeatedly. Maybe instead of posting about forgiveness, you should be teaching him accountability. Diane deleted the comment, but screenshots spread across the internet. I did not engage. I did not comment. I just watched from a distance as their world fell apart. At work, Datacore was thriving. Our new software launched to rave reviews. We signed contracts with 5 new major clients. Our stock price hit an all-time high. Business magazines started calling me a comeback story. Tech CEO Simone Harper proves personal struggles don't have to derail professional success. I gave a few carefully crafted interviews focusing on business strategy and leadership. When asked about my divorce, I simply said, I'm focused on moving forward, both personally and professionally. One evening, I was working in my hotel suite when Natasha stopped by with Thai food and wine. You need to eat, she said, unpacking containers of pad Thai and curry. I ate lunch. A granola bar doesn't count. She handed me a plate and chopsticks. Eat. We sat on the blue sofa, eating in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over Central Park. How are you really doing? Natasha asked after a while. Honestly, I feel free. Like I've been carrying this weight for months and I finally put it down. Good. You deserve to feel free. Have you heard anything from the office gossip mill? About Brandon's situation? Natasha nodded. Sterling and Cross fired him. Officially for financial misconduct, but everyone knows it's about the affair and the investigation. He's unemployed. Wow. There's more. Rochelle broke up with him. Apparently she was only interested in him because he had money and status. Now that he's lost both, she wants nothing to do with him. I should have felt satisfaction, but instead I just felt tired. He destroyed his whole life for someone who never really cared about him. That's what happens when you're selfish and short-sighted. We finished dinner and Natasha left around 9. I took a long bath, put on comfortable pajamas and got into bed early. For the first time in years, I fell asleep without worrying about what Brandon was doing, where he was, who he was with. I was done carrying his secrets. They were his to bear now. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. I arrived at the courthouse at 8:30, dressed in a blue power suit, my hair pulled back in a sleek bun. Jerome met me at the entrance. Ready? He asked. Completely. We walked through security and took the elevator to the 5th floor. The hallway outside the courtroom was quiet. Brandon and his attorney were already there, sitting on a bench. Brandon looked terrible. Unshaven, rumpled suit, dark circles under his eyes. He stood when he saw me. Simone, please. Can we talk? Just for a minute? I walked past him without acknowledging his presence. His attorney, a young man named Christopher Wells, stepped forward. Mrs. Harper, my client would really like to discuss settlement options before we go in front of the judge. Jerome answered for me. Our position hasn't changed. No reconciliation. No settlement that benefits your client. We're proceeding with divorce and asset recovery. Mrs. Harper contributed to the marriage too. He deserves consideration. He deserves exactly what the law allows, which is significantly less than he stole. The courtroom doors opened and we filed in. Judge Rita Okonkwo was already seated, a black woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Good morning, she said as we took our seats. I've reviewed the filings from both parties. This is a preliminary hearing to discuss temporary orders while the divorce proceeds. Let's start with housing. Mrs. Harper is requesting exclusive occupancy of the marital residence. Jerome stood. Your Honor, my client contributed 70% of the down payment and has made the majority of mortgage payments throughout the marriage. Mr. Harper is currently residing in a hotel at his mother's expense. My client should have primary right to the residence. Christopher stood. Your Honor, Mr. Harper has equal rights to the marital home regardless of financial contributions. Forcing him to live in a hotel while his wife occupies their penthouse is unfair. Judge Okonkwo looked at the documents in front of her. I see that Mrs. Harper provided substantial documentation of her financial contributions. I also see that Mr. Harper is currently unemployed and unable to contribute to the mortgage. Temporary order granted. Mrs. Harper has exclusive occupancy until the divorce is finalized. Brandon slumped in his chair. Next item, the judge continued. Mrs. Harper is requesting access to all financial records, including offshore accounts and investment portfolios. Jerome presented Harold's forensic analysis, highlighting the $2.3 million that Brandon had moved or spent without Simone's knowledge. Judge Okonkwo's expression darkened as she read. Mr. Harper, Did you use marital funds to purchase property for another woman? Christopher stood quickly. Your Honor, my client made some financial decisions that, in hindsight, were not wise. But there was no intent to defraud. Intent is irrelevant. The law is clear about marital property. She turned to Brandon. Mr. Harper, you will provide complete documentation of all accounts, investments, and assets within 10 days. Failure to comply will result in sanctions. Yes, Your Honor, Brandon said quietly. Furthermore, Mrs. Harper is requesting that certain assets be frozen pending final divorce settlement. Given the evidence of financial misconduct, I'm granting that request. All joint accounts are frozen. Neither party may make withdrawals without court approval. The hearing continued for another hour. Every request I made was granted. Every argument Christopher presented was dismissed. When it was over, Judge Okonkwo looked directly at Brandon. Mr. Harper, I suggest you cooperate fully with discovery. The more you try to hide, the worse this will go for you. We left the courtroom victorious. In the hallway, Brandon tried to approach me again. Simone, please. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. I still love you. I stopped and looked at him. Really looked at him. This man I had married, had trusted, had built a life with. Now he just looked pathetic. You don't love me, Brandon. You love what I provided. The money, the status, the life. But that's over now. That's not true. I love you. I made a mistake, but it's over with Rochelle. She meant nothing. You stole $2.3 million from me. You humiliated me. You brought your mother into your affair. And you expect me to believe you made a mistake? I was confused. I was going through something. You were selfish. There's a difference. Jerome touched my elbow gently. Simone, we should go. I turned and walked away, leaving Brandon standing in the hallway, defeated. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Somehow they had gotten wind of the hearing. Mrs. Harper, can you comment on your divorce? Mrs. Harper, is it true your husband stole millions? Jerome stepped in front of me. Mrs. Harper has no comment at this time. Thank you. We got into his car and drove away. That went better than expected, Jerome said. How long until the final hearing? Probably 2 months. We need to complete discovery, get all the financial documentation. But based on today, I think we're looking at a very favorable outcome. Good. That afternoon, Forbes published an article about Datacorp's expansion. We were opening offices in London and Tokyo, expanding our client base internationally. The article included an interview I had done the week before. Simone Harper is proof that personal challenges don't have to derail professional success, the article read. While navigating a high-profile divorce, she's managed to grow her company by 30% and launch revolutionary new technology. She's a role model for women entrepreneurs everywhere. The article went viral. My LinkedIn profile got thousands of new followers. Business schools started reaching out, asking me to speak at their events. That same day, Brandon's firm released an official statement. Brandon Harper is no longer employed by Sterling & Cross. We wish him well in his future endeavors. The passive-aggressive corporate speak was clear. He was fired and they wanted nothing to do with him. Rochelle's real estate license was also suspended pending an ethics investigation. Apparently, she had been using client funds inappropriately, and someone had reported her. I did not feel joy at their downfall. I felt nothing. They were no longer part of my life and their struggles were not my concern. 2 weeks later, I decided to sell the penthouse. Too many memories, too much baggage. I wanted a fresh start. I hired a real estate agent, a woman named Patricia Chin who specialized in luxury properties. She took one look at the place and smiled. This will sell in a week. Maybe less. The market is hot, and this location is prime. Good. Price it high. I want maximum return. The listing went live on a Wednesday. By Friday we had 3 offers all above asking price. I accepted the highest one, $5.6 million. A $1.4 million profit from what we had paid. Brandon's attorney tried to block the sale, arguing that it was marital property and required both parties' consent. Judge Okonkwo denied the motion. Since I had contributed the majority of the purchase price and Brandon was in breach of fiduciary duty, I had the right to sell. The sale closed in 30 days. I walked away with a check for $5.6 million. With the money, I bought a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn. For stories, original details, a garden in the back. I hired an interior designer and decorated it in bright, cheerful colors. Yellow walls in the kitchen. A red sofa in the living room. Green curtains in the bedroom. Every room was full of light and life. This was my home. Mine alone. And it felt perfect. I started therapy in November. Dr. Angela Morrison had an office in the West Village, a cozy space with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. She specialized in helping people process betrayal and rebuild their lives. "Tell me about the moment you realized your marriage was over," she said during our first session. I thought back to that day in my office watching security footage of Diane and Rochelle. I realized that the person I thought I married never really existed. Brandon was always selfish, always looking for what benefited him. I just didn't see it because I was too busy building my company and trying to be a good wife. Do you blame yourself? Sometimes. I think about the signs I missed. The late nights. The distance. The way he always made me feel like I was too focused on work. Those are manipulation tactics. Making you doubt yourself so you wouldn't question him. I know that now. But knowing it doesn't make it easier. We talked for an hour. When I left, I felt lighter. Like I had put down a burden I did not know I was carrying. I went to therapy every week. Slowly, I started to process everything that had happened. The betrayal. The lies. The way Diane had enabled it all. The way I had ignored my own instincts because I wanted the marriage to work. "What do you want for your future?" Dr. Morrison asked during one session. "I want peace. I want to build something meaningful. I want to help other women who've been through what I've been through." That's a beautiful goal. The idea took root. I started researching domestic violence organizations, financial literacy programs for women, divorce support groups. I wanted to do something, make a difference. In December, I launched the Harper Foundation for Women's Empowerment. The mission was simple: help women gain financial independence, provide resources for those leaving abusive or unfaithful relationships, and support women entrepreneurs. We started with $1 million endowment from my personal funds. I hired a small but dedicated staff. We set up programs for legal aid, business mentorship, financial planning, and emotional support. The response was overwhelming. Within a month, we had helped 50 women. By the end of January, that number tripled. Natasha joined the board of directors. "This is amazing, Simone. You're changing lives." "I'm trying." I wish someone had been there to help me when I first found out about Brandon. I felt so alone. You're not alone anymore. And neither are the women we're helping. At work, DataCore continued to thrive. Our international expansion was ahead of schedule. We hired 200 new employees. Our revenue for the year hit $120 million. I was named CEO of the Year by Tech Leaders magazine. The award ceremony was in February, a black tie event at the Plaza Hotel. I wore a red gown that made me feel powerful and beautiful. Natasha came with me wearing a gorgeous green dress. We walked the red carpet together, cameras flashing, reporters calling my name. When I accepted the award, I stood at the podium and looked out at a room full of tech leaders, investors, innovators. This award belongs to every woman who has been told she can't, who has been doubted, who has been betrayed but refused to give up. Success is not about being perfect. It's about being resilient. Thank you. The room erupted in applause. Backstage, a reporter asked me about my divorce. "It's almost finalized," I said. "And when it is, I'm closing that chapter and focusing on the future." "Any regrets?" "Only that I didn't leave sooner." The quote went viral. Women across the country shared it on social media, adding their own stories of leaving bad relationships and finding strength. I started getting invitations to speak at women's conferences, business schools, empowerment events. I accepted the ones that felt meaningful and declined the rest. In March, I reconnected with my mother and sister. We had not been close since I married Brandon. He had always made me feel like I had to choose between him and my family. Now that he was gone, I reached out. My mother, Grace, cried when I called. "Baby, I've been so worried about you." "I'm okay, Mama." "Better than okay." "I never liked that boy. Something about him always felt off." "You were right." My sister, Tamara, flew in from Atlanta to visit. We spent a weekend together, eating soul food, watching movies, talking like we used to before my life got complicated. "You look happy," Tamara said. "Genuinely happy." "I am. For the first time in years, I feel like myself." In April, I decided to take a trip to Ghana. My grandmother had been born there, in a small village outside Accra. She had immigrated to the United States when she was 20, leaving behind family and a life she rarely talked about. I wanted to understand where I came from. I wanted to connect with that part of my history. I spent 2 weeks in Ghana, visiting my grandmother's village, meeting distant relatives, learning about my heritage. The experience was transformative. I saw strength in the women there, resilience, joy despite hardship. One evening, I sat with my great-aunt Amma on her porch, watching the sun set over the village. Your grandmother was a warrior, Amma said. She left everything she knew to build a better life. You have her spirit. I hope so. You do. I can see it in you. You're strong like her. I returned to New York feeling grounded, connected to something bigger than myself. The divorce trial was scheduled for May. After months of preparation, we were finally going to court. I was ready. The morning of the trial, I woke up at 5 a.m. I showered, dressed in a maroon suit that projected confidence, and had coffee in my sunlit kitchen. The brownstone was quiet, peaceful. My home. Jerome picked me up at 7:30. We drove to the courthouse in silence, both of us mentally preparing for the day ahead. The courtroom was packed. Judge Okonkwo presided from the bench, her expression stern and focused. Brandon sat at the defendant's table with Christopher Wells. He looked worse than he had at the preliminary hearing. Thinner, grayer, defeated. I felt nothing looking at him. Judge Okonkwo called the court to order. We're here for the final divorce proceedings of Harper versus Harper. Let's begin with opening statements. Jerome stood. Your Honor, this case is straightforward. Mr. Harper engaged in a prolonged affair, used marital assets to support his mistress, attempted to hide money in offshore accounts, and violated his fiduciary duty to his wife. Mrs. Harper is seeking a divorce, return of all misappropriated funds, and an unequal division of remaining marital assets due to Mr. Harper's misconduct. Christopher stood next. Your Honor, while Mr. Harper acknowledges making mistakes, he believes the marriage can be saved. He's requesting reconciliation counseling and, if that fails, an equal division of all assets. Judge Okonkwo looked skeptical. Mr. Wells, your client stole over $2 million from his wife. What grounds does he have for requesting equal division? He was a spouse in the marriage, Your Honor. He contributed to the household. By stealing? I'll hear your arguments, but I'm not optimistic about your position. The trial began. Jerome called me to the stand first. I swore to tell the truth and sat down. Jerome asked me to walk through the timeline of my marriage, the discovery of the affair, the financial fraud. I spoke calmly, factually, without emotion. I described finding Brandon's backup phone, watching the security footage of Diane and Rochelle, discovering the offshore accounts and the condo purchase. Christopher cross-examined me, trying to paint me as a cold, career-focused wife who neglected her husband. Mrs. Harper, isn't it true that you often worked 16-hour days? Yes. I run a successful company. That requires dedication. And isn't it true that you frequently traveled for business, leaving your husband alone? I traveled for work. Brandon knew that when he married me. Did you ever consider that your focus on your career might have driven him to seek companionship elsewhere? Jerome objected. Your Honor, this is victim blaming. Sustained. Mr. Wells, rephrase or move on. Christopher tried a different angle. Mrs. Harper, you gave your mother-in-law a credit card with a $50,000 monthly limit. That seems generous for someone you claim to have issues with. I gave her the card when I believed she was a supportive family member. When I learned she was using it to shop with my husband's mistress, I canceled it. But you didn't discuss it with her first? It was my card. I didn't need her permission to cancel it. The cross-examination continued for an hour. Christopher tried to make me seem vindictive, controlling, unreasonable. But I stayed calm, answered every question directly, and did not take the bait. When I stepped down, Jerome called Harold Thompson, the forensic accountant. Harold presented his findings clearly and methodically. Charts showing money movement. Documentation of the condo purchase. Wire transfer records to offshore accounts. It was damning. In total, Mr. Harper moved or spent $2.3 million of marital assets without Mrs. Harper's knowledge or consent, Harold concluded. Christopher tried to discredit the analysis, but Harold's work was ironclad. Next, Jerome called several character witnesses. Natasha testified about my dedication to both my marriage and my work. My business attorney testified about the prenuptial agreement and the clear separation of business and marital assets. Then Christopher called his witnesses. Brandon's mother, Diane. She took the stand wearing a blue dress and pearls, her face carefully composed. Mrs. Harper, can you describe your relationship with your daughter-in-law? We were close. I thought of Simone like a daughter. I was heartbroken when she filed for divorce. Did you ever shop with a woman named Rochelle? Yes, a few times. She was a friend of Brandon's. I was trying to be friendly. Did you know about their affair? Not at first. When I found out, I was shocked. I tried to talk to Brandon to get him to end it. Jerome stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Harper, You testified that you tried to get Brandon to end the affair. Do you have any evidence of that? Text messages? Emails? Recorded conversations? Diane hesitated. No. It was verbal. So we only have your word? Yes. Jerome pulled up the security footage on a screen. Is this you shopping with Rochelle at Bergdorf Goodman? Diane paled. Yes. The timestamp shows this was 3 months ago. You testified that you were shocked to learn about the affair. But this footage shows you were friendly with Rochelle months after the affair began. Were you lying then or are you lying now? I was trying to understand her. To see what Brandon saw in her. By using your daughter-in-law's credit card to buy her designer shoes? I didn't think about whose card I was using. You didn't think about the fact that you were using a card Simone gave you in good faith to shop with the woman who was sleeping with her husband? I made a mistake. Jerome let the silence hang. Then he said, no further questions. Diane stepped down, her composure shattered. Christopher called Brandon to the stand. He looked nervous, wringing his hands as he swore to tell the truth. Mr. Harper, can you explain why you began an affair with Rochelle? I was lonely. Simone was always working. I felt neglected. Did you use marital funds to support Rochelle? I made some financial decisions that I regret. But I never meant to hurt Simone. Do you love your wife? Yes, I love her. I want to save our marriage. Jerome's cross-examination was brutal. Mr. Harper, you testified that you love your wife. Is that why you told Rochelle that you loved her too? Brandon stammered. I was confused. You were confused about whether you loved your wife or your mistress? I made a mistake. Did you make a mistake when you bought Rochelle a $400,000 condo? I thought it was a good investment. An investment in what? Your mistress's future? I wasn't thinking clearly. Did you make a mistake when you transferred $500,000 to an offshore account and didn't tell your wife? I was planning for our future. Whose future? Yours and Simone's, or yours and Rochelle's? Brandon had no answer. Jerome continued. Mr. Harper, you were fired from your job at Sterling and Cross for financial misconduct. Is that correct? Yes. So you're currently unemployed? Yes. Yet you're requesting spousal support from Mrs. Harper? I contributed to the marriage. I deserve support. You stole $2.3 million from your wife and you think you deserve more money? I didn't steal. I made mistakes. No further questions. The trial lasted 3 days. By the end, it was clear which way the verdict would go. Judge Okonkwo took 1 day to deliberate, then called us back to court. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony, she began. This is one of the clearest cases of marital misconduct I've seen. Mr. Harper violated his fiduciary duty to his wife repeatedly and egregiously. He stole money, he lied, he brought his own mother into his deception. She looked directly at Brandon. Mr. Harper, you are ordered to pay Mrs. Harper $2.3 million, representing the full amount of marital assets you misappropriated. Additionally, Mrs. Harper is awarded the proceeds from the sale of the penthouse. Her business assets remain entirely hers as per the prenuptial agreement, and you are entitled to nothing from her personal or business accounts. Brandon slumped in his chair. Furthermore, your request for spousal support is denied. You forfeited any claim to support when you chose to steal from your wife. Judge Okonkwo turned to me. Mrs. Harper, the divorce is granted. You are free to move forward with your life. I wish you all the best. I stood, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. It was over. The verdict made headlines. Tech CEO wins divorce battle, awarded millions. Cheating husband ordered to pay back everything he stole. I did not read the articles. I did not need to. I had won not just in court but in life. Jerome called me the day after the verdict. Congratulations. This was a total victory. Thank you for everything you did. It was my pleasure. Brandon's attorney has already contacted me about the perjury investigation into Diane. Apparently, she's facing charges for lying under oath. Good. She deserves consequences too. Also, Brandon has 30 days to pay the $2.3 million. If he can't, we can petition the court to garnish any future wages or seize assets. Do whatever is necessary. I want every penny back. Within a week, Brandon's attorney contacted Jerome to negotiate a payment plan. Brandon did not have $2.3 million. His savings were depleted, his job was gone, and his mother had cut him off financially after the perjury investigation. Jerome was unsympathetic. He should have thought about that before he stole from his wife. We're not negotiating. He pays in full or we pursue legal action. Brandon scrambled. He sold his car. He liquidated his 401k, taking a huge tax penalty. He borrowed money from friends. Slowly, painfully, he scraped together the full amount. The check arrived at Jerome's office in early June. $2.3 million plus legal fees and court costs. Jerome deposited it into my account the same day. I donated $500,000 of it to the Harper Foundation. The rest went into investments and savings. Diane's perjury trial was set for July. I did not plan to attend, but Jerome sent me updates. She was found guilty of perjury and obstruction of justice. The judge sentenced her to 6 months in a minimum security facility and fined her $50,000. Her social circle abandoned her completely. The women who used to fawn over her at charity luncheons wanted nothing to do with a convicted criminal. I felt no satisfaction in her downfall. Just indifference. Rochelle had her own problems. Her real estate license was permanently revoked after the ethics investigation found multiple violations. She left New York and moved back to her hometown in Ohio. I heard through the grapevine that she and Brandon had tried to reconnect after the divorce was finalized. It lasted 2 weeks. Apparently, she realized he had nothing to offer her and moved on. Brandon was working an entry-level job at a marketing firm, making $40,000 a year. A far cry from his former life. I did not keep tabs on him. I did not care where he was or what he was doing. He was a chapter of my life that was closed. In July, I attended a charity gala for women's empowerment. The Harper Foundation was one of the sponsors. I wore a blue gown and felt beautiful, confident, free. At the gala, I ran into Brandon and Diane. They were there because one of Diane's former friends had invited them, probably out of pity. They looked uncomfortable, out of place. Diane's blue dress was from several seasons ago. Brandon's suit was slightly too big, like he had lost weight and could not afford to buy a new one. They saw me across the room. I saw the moment of recognition, the flash of pain and regret in Brandon's eyes. I walked over to them. Natasha tried to stop me, but I shook my head. I wanted to do this. Brandon. Diane. I greeted them politely, like they were distant acquaintances. Simone. Brandon's voice was hoarse. You look beautiful. Thank you. I did not return the compliment. Diane said nothing, her face pale and drawn. How have you been? Brandon asked. Wonderful. The company is expanding. The foundation is thriving. Life is good. He flinched at that. I'm glad you're doing well. Are you? He looked down. I'm trying. It's been hard. I imagine it has. I kept my tone neutral, detached. Well, I should get back to my table. Have a good evening. I walked away without waiting for a response. Natasha caught up with me. That was ice cold. I'm impressed. I wasn't trying to be cold. I just don't feel anything when I look at them. They're strangers to me now. Good. They should be. The rest of the gala was wonderful. I gave a speech about the foundation's work, met with donors, networked with other women leaders. At the end of the night, I stood on the balcony overlooking the city, a glass of champagne in my hand, feeling completely at peace. Natasha joined me. You did it. You survived and came out stronger. We did it. I couldn't have done this without you. What's next for you? I don't know. Maybe travel more. Maybe date if I meet someone interesting. Maybe just focus on the foundation and the company. Whatever I want. You deserve all of it. We clinked glasses and looked out at the glittering city lights. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi Simone. This is Adrian. We met at the museum fundraiser last month. I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner sometime? I smiled. Adrian was a museum curator I had chatted with at an event. He was handsome, intelligent, passionate about art and history. We had talked for an hour about everything from Renaissance paintings to modern tech innovations. I typed back, I'd love to. How about next Friday? His response came quickly, perfect. I'll make a reservation. Looking forward to it. I put my phone away and took a sip of champagne. Life was full of possibilities, and for the first time in years I was excited to see where it would take me. 6 months later, autumn painted the city in gold and amber. I stood in my brownstone kitchen, sunlight streaming through the yellow walls, making coffee on a Saturday morning. Jazz played softly from the speaker on the counter. The Harper Foundation had expanded to help over 500 women. We had opened a second office in Atlanta and were planning a third in Los Angeles. Women from across the country contacted us every day, seeking help, guidance, support. DataCore had just been valued at $150 million. We had offices in 5 countries now, employed over 800 people, and were revolutionizing cybersecurity for major corporations worldwide. I had been featured on the cover of Fortune magazine with the headline, "Simone Harper, Building an Empire on Her Own Terms." My personal life had also bloomed. Adrian and I had been dating for 4 months. He was kind, thoughtful, funny. He loved his work at the museum with the same passion I loved mine at Datacor. We spent weekends exploring art galleries, trying new restaurants, talking about everything and nothing. He did not make me feel like I had to choose between my career and my relationship. He celebrated my success. He encouraged my ambitions. He was secure enough in himself to be with a woman who was powerful and successful. We were taking things slow. No talk of moving in together or marriage. Just enjoying each other's company, building something genuine. That Saturday morning, Natasha was coming over for brunch. I had made pancakes, fruit salad, and mimosas. She arrived at 10 wearing jeans and a green sweater, her natural hair in twists. "This place still looks amazing," she said, looking around the bright, colorful rooms of my brownstone. "Thank you. I love it here." We sat in the garden, eating and talking. The weather was perfect, cool but sunny. "So how are things with Adrian?" Natasha asked. "Really good. We're going to a gallery opening tonight." "You seem happy." "Like genuinely happy, not just putting on a brave face." "I'm happy. It took a while to get here, but I'm finally in a place where I feel whole." "You deserve it. After everything you went through." "We both do. You've been there for me through all of it." Natasha raised her mimosa. "To surviving betrayal and building something better." I clinked my glass against hers. "To new beginnings." That afternoon, I had a speaking engagement at a women's conference. The topic was Rising from Betrayal, How to Rebuild Your Life After Divorce. The auditorium was packed. 300 women sat in the audience, listening as I shared my story. Not the tabloid version but the real one. The pain of discovery. The fear of losing everything. The slow, deliberate process of taking my power back. "I want you to understand something," I said from the stage. "When someone betrays you, it feels like the end of the world. It feels like you'll never recover. But you will. You're stronger than you think. And on the other side of that pain is a life that's completely yours. A life built on your terms, filled with people who value you, work that fulfills you, and peace that no one can take away." The applause was thunderous. After my speech, women lined up to talk to me, to share their stories, to thank me for giving them hope. One woman, a young mother with 2 kids, gripped my hand and said, "You saved my life. I was going to stay with my cheating husband because I didn't think I could make it alone. But after reading about you, I left. And I'm building a better life for me and my children." I hugged her. "You saved yourself. I just showed you it was possible." That evening, Adrian picked me up for the gallery opening. He looked handsome in a blue button-down shirt and dark slacks. "You look stunning," he said when I answered the door. I was wearing a red dress that hugged my curves, my hair loose and natural. "Thank you. So do you." The gallery was in Chelsea, a modern space with white walls and track lighting. The featured artist was a young African-American woman whose paintings explored themes of identity, resilience, and joy. Adrian and I walked through the exhibition hand in hand, discussing the pieces, their meanings, their impact. "This one reminds me of you," Adrian said, stopping in front of a painting called Phoenix Rising. It showed a black woman in bright colors, surrounded by flames that looked like wings rising from ashes. "How so?" "You rose from the ashes of your old life and created something beautiful. Something powerful." I studied the painting, seeing myself in the woman's determined expression, her vibrant presence. I liked that interpretation. We stayed at the gallery for 2 hours, then walked to a nearby restaurant for dinner. Over pasta and wine we talked about our weeks, our plans, our dreams. "I'm thinking about taking a sabbatical next year," I said. "Just a month or 2. Travel, spend time with family, maybe write a book about my experiences." "That sounds wonderful. Where would you go?" "Ghana again. Maybe South Africa. Somewhere I can connect with my roots and find inspiration." "I'd love to visit Ghana someday. The history, the culture, the art. It's fascinating. Maybe you could come with me. If you want." Adrian smiled. "I'd like that. A lot." We left the restaurant and walked through the city streets. The autumn air was crisp, the lights of the buildings reflecting off the pavement. New York felt alive, full of possibility. Adrian walked me to my door. "I had a wonderful time tonight." "So did I." He kissed me gently. "I'll call you tomorrow?" "I'll be waiting." I watched him walk away, then went inside my brownstone. I kicked off my heels, poured a glass of wine, and stood by the window in my living room, looking out at the neighborhood. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. So proud of you, baby. Saw your speech online. You're changing lives. I smiled and texted back. Thanks, Mama. Love you. Another text came in. From Tamara. Sister, you killed that speech. The family group chat is blowing up with people talking about how amazing you are. I replied, tell them I said thank you. And that I love you all. I sat down on my red sofa, sipping wine, feeling the quiet contentment of a life well lived. There was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. Adrian was standing there, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. I opened the door. Did you forget something? Yeah. To tell you that I'm falling for you. And I wanted you to know that before another day passed. My heart swelled. Come inside. We talked until midnight, curled up on the sofa, sharing stories, dreams, fears. He told me about his childhood, his parents' divorce, his journey to finding work he loved. I told him about my grandmother, my company, the foundation, my healing process. I'm not looking for someone to save me, I said. I've already saved myself. I'm looking for someone to share this beautiful life I've built. I'm not trying to save you, Adrian said. I'm just hoping to be part of your story. If you'll have me, I will. He kissed me and it felt like the beginning of something real. Something healthy. Something built on honesty and mutual respect. When he left around 1 a.m., I locked the door and leaned against it, smiling. I walked through my home, turning off lights, feeling grateful for every bright, colorful room. The yellow kitchen. The red living room. The green bedroom. Every space was mine, filled with light and life. I got into bed and looked at the ceiling, thinking about how far I had come. From the woman who watched security footage of her mother-in-law shopping with her husband's mistress, to the woman who built an empire, launched a foundation, and opened her heart to love again. The journey had been painful, brutal even, but I had survived. More than survived. I had thrived. And I was just getting started. Outside my window, the city lights twinkled like stars. Inside my home, I felt peace. Complete, absolute peace. I closed my eyes and fell asleep with a smile on my face, dreaming of all the beautiful possibilities that tomorrow would bring.